Hello everyone, how are we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Dad Project. Appreciate you joining us for another week, another podcast. If you're new here, welcome. Just before we get into it, as always, please make sure you're subscribed on all the podcast channels. So Spotify, Apple, Google, all the good podcast platforms, you'll be able to find our podcast on there. This is the number one thing that I put my focus into each week from a social media standpoint. Yes, I do believe that podcast is social media. That's a whole other conversation. But this is the first thing that's going to go up every week. So if I go lights out on on all the other platforms, you will always find that at least once a fortnight, but I endeavor to do it once a week and drop it on a Saturday morning, you will find a podcast will go up. So make sure you are subscribed on there. And then of course, follow us on all the other podcast platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, we got YouTube, we got TikTok, we've got all those. Generally, the handles are at The Unstoppable Dad, or you can just search The Unstoppable Dad Project and follow us along there to be notified as well. But the big thing is just make sure you're subscribed on those podcast platforms, because that obviously helps us get the podcast out to more people. But the other thing is, as I mentioned, this is the big focus for me to get something out to you every week. So subscribe, help us out, grow it a little bit. Now, this week, the tone of this podcast is probably going to be a little bit different to some of the other ones. Now, I'm all about growth mindset, abundance, and the rest of it. But the one thing that's been playing on my mind the last couple of months, especially since I've moved into this new phase of more online coaching, so the in-person coaching has taken a little bit of a back step after a decade plus, and we're focusing more on the online side of things through the Unstoppable Dad Project and through Fusion. But due to that, I guess I'm seeing a lot more of what other people are doing. And while I'm always trying to be focused on what I'm doing, it's great to be mindful of what other people are doing. Plus, the other thing is, being in the fitness space, I get hit up daily from people who are quote-unquote business coaches, whether it is somebody who is trying to help me with the online business or somebody who's trying to help me with an in-person business. It's ridiculous in the last 2.5 years how many people I have been hit up by with that. Now, what I wanted to talk about is the fact that nobody's got it figured out. Nobody. Not me, not anybody. We're all learning. We're all going through a process of working out life, working out what we want out of life, what works best for us, what outcome we're trying to drive, and what type of life we want to live. We just don't have it figured out. And everyone wants to put up this facade that they have every single thing figured out, right? And more importantly, what I see a lot of is the fact that a lot of people trying to sell you something will put up a facade that they have the solution. They have every single bit of the solution for a particular problem. And I think most of us know this. I think we're smart enough to know this. Hopefully the listeners of this podcast are smart enough to know this, but nothing is a magic bullet. And I spoke about a couple episodes ago, I spoke about how for me, particularly with business and things like that in the past, that I've been guilty of going and looking for a magic bullet and potentially buying into some of the bullshit that people put out there. The fact that everyone starts to put out this facade that I have the solution for this problem. If you take this action, it will fix this. If you want this particular result, you need to go and do this thing. But the problem is, there's nuances within each of those big blanket statements that go into it. And the only way that you can tell whether somebody is, and it's very hard in today's day and age to tell whether somebody is actually full of shit or not. But one of the biggest things that I've learned that will give you a good indicator is actual experience. Because let's talk about something that I've encountered over the last, let's say, 2.5 years. As a fitness professional, somebody who's run a gym for 10.5 years or 11 years, been coaching for 15 years. In the last 2.5 years since COVID, there's been a prevalence of fitness business coaches, whether they're looking to help people grow a six-figure online business, or they're looking for to help people get 50 members in 30 days, or this and that and everything else. But a lot of these people don't have experience. In fact, what I've actually found is most of these people are actually coming from a failed business background, and now they're trying to show other people how to run a business. And the problem is, in that space right now, there are a lot of businesses that are struggling. Like in Australia, it's an industry that has been hit extremely hard by COVID restrictions and lockdowns. I'm not even going to go into my opinions about a lot of that. Like there's a whole rabbit hole I can go down around that. But it's so a lot of the things from these business coaches is predatory. Like they're preying on businesses that are struggling, preaching that they can give them a magic formula. And there is no magic formula. The magic formula is putting in some work. Now, where they can add some value, and where a lot of coaches can add some value, is to suggest to you the path that you need to go down. So there may be actions that you're not taking that may help you get a better result than the actions that you're taking now. And that's where they can add some value. But that's not a magic formula, right? That is, we can get you to take these actions, which can potentially give you this result. But even then, it may not work, because there's a whole bunch of factors that are going to come into that. There's going to be circumstantially, like where you're at. There's going to be the marketplace, because each marketplace that a particular business is in is going to be different. The demographic that's going to be within that area, or that they service as a business, is going to be different. And there's going to be little tweaks and changes that are going to need to be made around the program delivery and the actions that they take, which can't be a one-size-fits-all deal. And I've harped on about this with training and things like that. And one of the things where I try to make what we do very different, where it's more personalized, and it's the same with training. It's the same with fitness coaches. It's the same with life coaching. I seen a meme the other day where it's like, please God, give me the confidence of a 25-year-old life coach. For me, I don't know how you can help somebody through life at 25 years old. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some very, very mature people at that age who have lived a lot of, what's the word for it? They have lived a lot of life. Like, everyone's different, right? So age probably isn't a great indicator, but experience is. And you can have a different level of experience at different ages, right? Like, you don't have to be 60 to say that you've lived a fulfilled life. You can have lived a fulfilled life up until 30 and still have had a lot of different experiences. And it's the same with business. Like, someone's experience in business over 5 years may be the same level of experience that somebody has got out of business in 10 years. But the bottom line is, and I guess the rant or the arc that I'm going on, and the thing that I wanted to get across with this podcast is, like, nobody has it figured out. And in today's social media age, we are led to believe that there are people out there who want you to believe that they have it all figured out. And they have one thing that will be the cure to all your problems. And it just won't be. And the problem is, if you are constantly looking and searching for that, like I have, as I've mentioned in this podcast and in other podcasts, I have been guilty of that. I think we all have, because we want things to be easy. We want the outcome of something that's maybe we're struggling with, to be an easy fix, because it's been something that we've struggled with for long enough, and we're over struggling with it, and we just don't want to. If we could just flick a switch and it would be all fixed, like, that's going to be a good thing, because we just don't want to keep struggling with it. But unfortunately, that's just not the way it works. Where a coach, or where somebody with experience will be able to actually help you with it, will be able to be like, hey, try this, and try this for a good amount of time. But that comes down to action on your part. And this is one lesson that I've learned the hard way, time and time and time again, in different aspects of my life. Seeking that magic bullet and that magic formula that somebody who is putting the facade out there that they have it all worked out is only going to lead to some issues down the path. It is going to lead to probably more heartbreak and more angst than what you're currently going through. Whereas looking at what are some little steps and what are some little behaviors I can take to potentially improve this position. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't be happy with where you're at now and still want to improve. I feel that as human beings, we should always want to be pushing the boundaries of what we're capable of. And we should always be seeking that improvement, not for external validation, be intrinsically motivated rather than extrinsically motivated. But I'm a big believer in the fact that I want to continue to grow and evolve. And with that in mind, knowing that, hey, I don't have it worked out. There are things through experience, whether it be through coaching or lived life experience, which I have a lot of knowledge on. And I can potentially help guide somebody in either a similar situation or who I've coached in a similar situation to give them a suggestion on some actions that they need to take in order to potentially improve a situation or potentially to help them grow. And if they want to take that path and they want to take that action, they will see growth. But it may not be the exact path that I've mapped out for them. They need to take that action first to see whether that is going to work for them in their particular set of circumstances. And then where the coaching process gets a lot of value, and that doesn't matter whether it's business coaching or it's fitness coaching like we work through or whatever it is coming back and getting feedback and then adjusting the approach so you can refine it to get something that is going to work for you. And this is a recurring theme that I go through on the podcast time and time again. But the big thing with today and what I wanted to cap over today is just that don't think that anyone has it figured out, right? No one has it figured out. People have lived experiences and they may be in very similar positions to what you're in, and they may be able to give you suggestions on some actions that you need to take in order to potentially improve something that you want to improve overall. But it's then going to be on you to take the action. And thinking that because you are unable to stick to a plan or you're unable to achieve a result that somebody else has achieved is not fair on yourself. Because by thinking that that person that you're taking the advice on has it figured out, and they haven't potentially that approach that they've got to get them that result that potentially you're after, they haven't had to try and fail time and time and time again in order to get to that point and get that result. Just because they have this one streamlined path now, I would almost guarantee, and I can tell you from a lot of things with like our programs that I do, that path hasn't come from them just doing it once and being able to get there. They will have done it. They will have potentially hit a roadblock or failed, and they would have readjusted. And that's where you get real value from coaching. But that ability to coach you through that stuff from a coach's standpoint comes from nothing else but experience. Because experience is the one thing that you can't buy. You can't buy that through a course. You can't buy that there's no money value that you can put on a level of experience. And the way that a good coach will be able to help you is through their lived experience and helping you adjust to help you find your own plan that works for you, rather than this tailor cookie cutter deal that a lot of people out there now will give the facade that I have it figured out because I've either helped one person do it, but show me the coach that's helped hundreds of people do it over a long period of time, or they've been able to do it themselves with long-term sustained results. But don't buy into the Instagram social media bullshit that lets you to believe that whoever you're looking at has it figured out, because they don't. I don't have it figured out. With this podcast, sometimes I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. Like today, I'll pick a topic, I'll just jump on there and I'll riff on it. And thankfully, there's obviously a lot of people out there that resonate with what I'm doing. I try and make it real, raw, and uncut, and I just basically 15 to 20 minutes talk about a topic and go out there. But I by no means have it figured out. I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly messing up, and I'm constantly getting better. I constantly don't want to do things And sometimes I have to push through a lack of motivation. There's other times where my motivation is through the roof and I'm ready to rip the head off a line and get going. But I love the journey. I love learning. I love trying to evolve and get better. And when I understood that no one else has it figured out, and I respected the process, thought about those little wins that I want to stack up daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and understood that this is a long game rather than thinking that there's something out there that is going to solve everything I need in 30 days. And finally, to finish off, understood that power is all within me. As esoteric as that sounds, I have the power and the influence to make the decision on what I want to do and the direction that I want to go and what information I want to take in and what I want to take action on. But in order to actually move things forward and improve a situation, I do need to take action. And whether it doesn't have to be perfect action, it can be imperfect action. And by understanding those few things, it makes life a whole lot simpler. No one has it figured out. Don't let them tell you otherwise. There are people out there who have a lot of experience who may have obtained a result close to or near what you want to. But it's not until you actually go through the process of doing the work that you're going to understand whether this is going to be a good fit for you or that result is going to be achievable within your set of circumstances and within your current list of priorities. So don't buy into the bullshit. Go and do you. Understand that you have the choice to do what you want to do. I don't have it figured out. And don't put pressure on yourself to have it all figured out because that's part of life. I think that's part of the fun of life is being able to learn and constantly evolve and work it out. Because if we did all have it figured out, I'd say it'd probably be pretty boring. Well, it would be for me anyway. So thanks for listening. To finish off, we're on to week 4 of our free 8-week program. So add yourself into the Facebook group for more information on that. I'm dropping that every week on a Sunday onto all our social media pages. So it's just a free 8-week training program. There's more information, obviously, in the Facebook groups just around movement tutorials and things like that. But the overall program is put on all the. If you don't want to get involved in the Facebook group, you can get the program off all our pages. So jump on there. You can find it on there. If you do want to have a chat about training or the coaching that we can provide, which we provide through my experience, 15 years of coaching experience, but you can book in a time. It's all in the show notes. So whether this is the audio podcast or the video podcast, if you jump down to the show notes, there's a link in there to book in a time for a chat. So I appreciate each and every single one of you. Understand that you're doing a great job. Everyone is living their own life and working it out in their own way. And whatever anyone puts up on social media, don't believe that they have it worked out because they flat out fucking don't. Have a good week, guys. See you next week. Bye.